Guys, Donald Trump has just announced they will be going through with the crypto strategic reserve. Keyword there, crypto, not just Bitcoin, which in my opinion, I would have loved to see 100% Bitcoin stockpile reserve for the US government. But Trump has then announced last night that they're going to be going forward with Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, XRP, and Solana. Funnily enough, his initial tweet didn't actually include Bitcoin or Ethereum. As you probably know, Trump doesn't tweet everything that he puts out. In fact, he probably has someone doing all of his tweets. Maybe this was his son putting this out, but he then retweeted about an hour later to say that they were obviously going to include Bitcoin and Ethereum, and he really wants to make the US the home of crypto. The other thing he's also mentioned, not in this tweet, is around potentially making US-backed cryptocurrencies tax-free. He really wants to push the crypto narrative, and after coming into the seat in late last year, the market has pretty much gone down, especially at the start of 2025. So it's great to see him come out and tweet this. The market had a pretty deep correction, about 38%. But if you've been listening to me for a long, long time, these corrections are very, very normal in bull markets. We had a lot of fear in the market. Last week I put out a video just around how a lot of that fear wasn't really warranted. If you step back and look at the fundamentals of what was going on, there were still so many amazing tailwinds, but yet people were getting extreme fear. We actually got down to 10 on the fear and greed index, which is absolutely crazy. If you want a really simple strategy, honestly, if you buy in fear or extreme fear and just sell in greed, you're going to be outperforming pretty much everyone, because the market is so sometimes not correlated to the foundations of what's going on in the market. It just really comes down to fear and emotion, and people get really, really scared when we have these corrections. But this is really normal, 40% corrections in bull markets. In 2021, we had 10% plus corrections. It's very normal to see Bitcoin go down 30-40% and altcoins follow. And we're starting to see, hopefully, maybe a topping of BTC dominance now that Trump has really pushed out that he's not just including Bitcoin, he's also going to be including some altcoins into that strategic crypto reserve, which is absolutely crazy. So that's why the market is really, really pumped. I want to talk about what I'm buying, what I'm looking at, and the strategy from here. But ultimately, again, another big strategy you can follow here, team, is just by following World Liberty Financial. Not that I'm following this, to the core, but if you want a really simple strategy, probably don't overthink it. You could just be buying what Donald Trump's been buying, right? So he's got a lot of Bitcoin, a lot of ETH. He's been buying some TRX. He does have some other assets in here as well. But honestly, if you just follow what he's been speaking about, BTC, ETH, XRP, Solana, ADA, TRX, and a few others, that is really probably the easiest money you're going to be making in crypto the next couple of years, just by following Donald. He's a business guy. Obviously, he's going to want to pump his own bags. You've got David Sachs at the helm, who is, a huge Solana investor. I think he's on the board of Solana. I wouldn't be overthinking where we're at the moment. Now, Brian Armstrong also put this out this morning, which I tend to agree. Bitcoin, in my opinion, would just be the best option. Bitcoin is the simplest. It's the most like gold. I think it's better than gold. And then you can also have, Bitcoin, also helping with the US dollar, and backing that as continuing the US dollar to be the global leader of currency. But then you've got Bitcoin sort of backing that. But it looks like he's also going to include a bunch of other stuff. And, David Sachs also mentioned that he continues to be consistent with his promises of making the US the home and crypto capital of the world. And they have announced the White House summit that's coming up in a little while. And I guess that's why I tweeted this morning around just these corrections, these pullbacks are way out of context in terms of the logical fundamentals of the market. Imagine selling your Bitcoin last week with Donald Trump's announcement this morning. QT slowing down. It was in the FOMC minutes. So they're going to be slowing down the quantitative tightening, hopefully the next few months. Rates potentially coming down. Then they're building the sovereign wealth fund that could potentially be buying crypto. I would predict that they're going to potentially include that. And then also, the White House crypto summit, which is absolutely wild. So why do they prices pump so hard? Again, the market went into extreme fear and then it switched to greed. Sorry, it went into extreme fear and then we had a lot of people shorting when you get to those lower levels, and we had a bit of a short squeeze, which pushed a lot of the market up. But also just the complete flip-flop from where we've been in the previous, where we've had, a Biden administration, even years before that, wanting to ban crypto, to now, the president wanting to buy and, put on the balance sheet. And I guess what so many people are so excited about is if the US government puts Bitcoin and crypto on their balance sheet, other states, countries, businesses, organizations, sovereign wealth funds will follow suit. This is a amazing case of, people never want to be first, but they never want to be last. So I think once you get the first leader like Donald Trump doing this, you're going to have so many other people follow suit, which is really going to push the market up into the right, which is absolutely nuts. Like Scott Milker said here, this is what I said at the start here, but something just as simple as buying in the fear, selling in the greed, and backing what the Trump family buys is honestly probably some of the easiest money you're going to be making. Now, I want to talk about what I'm doing in my strategy here. And I guess, it's so funny to think about, I create a lot of content and share a lot of my investments and insights and strategies. the worst comments you get, and I lose the most followers whenever I put out something that, is anti to what's going on, right? So back about a month ago, I put out a post around how I was updating my portfolio. And I'll show you actually that one I did. I was updating my portfolio based on changing and lowering my allocation to some altcoins, some lower cap altcoins, and moving them into things like Solana and Ethereum. This was here, updating my portfolio. And again, caused a lot of hate, negativity, because I was selling some altcoins and rotating in the top assets, right? That's exactly how it played out. Bitcoin outperformed a lot of the low cap altcoins, and now a lot of the top altcoins are starting to perform really well. Nailed that. Then I put out this video 4 days ago talking about how the bull run wasn't over, and how we have these corrections and they're completely normal in the market. And then you get comments like these: "You're smoking hopium, it is time to short." This is what predominantly retail do. They follow like sheep what everyone else is doing. You have to start to not align yourself with the rest of the retail market. In cryptocurrencies or any markets, there's winners and losers. Unfortunately, in crypto, about 80 or 90% of people lose. And that's because so many people follow the same crap that these people put out online. I am not an influencer. I've learned content creation off the back of investing in crypto now for 8 years. And I really like putting out these insights because it does help people not follow the normal stuff that a lot of people follow online, which is just following the sheep and following the herd. We looked at some on-chain data that we posted in our platform recently around who was actually selling their Bitcoin and their crypto. And it was short-term holders. People that have held Bitcoin for less than 3 months were predominantly the ones that were selling their Bitcoin. And that's why the price started to go down. Then the fear kicked in, and then you get the longs liquidated, and then you just have this cascading effect. And it just become completely illogical, the price movement that we had last week. And that was my whole point that I was putting out online. You need to remain patient in those times. Don't get sucked into the fear. Reallocate if you have crappy coins in your portfolio, which we did a number of months ago, rotated in the top sectors. And have I been right on everything? Absolutely not. But what we have been right on is following the fundamentals and following where this cycle is going. And you've got literally a pro-crypto president, right? That is one of the biggest indicators of where we're going in the future, right? And then 4 days ago, we had the 60-day future-looking M2 money supply. M2 money supply is very, very correlated with Bitcoin, and we started to see Bitcoin start to increase off the back of that. There's so many great fundamental things going on, and really what we've been putting out to our members and constantly online is how the top is not in. We do not believe the top is in. Yes, everything is extremely fearful, and historically that's not uncommon to see that in bull markets. But potentially this is going to take a little bit longer this cycle due to the macro factors of rates not falling as sharply as what we would have liked, quantitative tightening going a little bit longer. But that July 22nd date is around that strategic crypto reserve, around that announcement. And we did a monthly live stream. We do 2 monthly live streams every month with our members. And we go deep into this with our analysts sharing those insights and updates, so you don't follow the herd and you get caught up and sucked into what everyone else is doing. So I made this update 5 days ago around remaining patient and where those corrections happen, but continue to be very bullish on those altcoins that I still have. For example, Ethereum, Solana, Sui, BTC that I have, and then I've got a few others in different sectors. I do believe the alts are going to have their time in the sun, but we've really got to wait for that influx of money to rotate down. Now, one potential interesting part about this cycle is there's been a lot more money flown into the ETFs than the spot market this time around. So usually, or in previous cycles, a lot of big whales would hold a lot of Bitcoin on exchanges and then rotate their profits down into altcoins. You could argue that this cycle, because there's so much money in the ETFs, that's not going to happen as much. But I'm more of the believer, because there's so many more altcoins, there's literally millions and millions more altcoins this cycle, that even if we get that altcoin market cap growth, which we can see here with this is the total excluding BTC and ETH, you can see that the altcoin market cap, it did get to about all-time highs back in sort of November, December, but we didn't break through a lot of all-time highs for the altcoins. For example, Ethereum was nowhere near all-time highs. In my opinion, that is just due to the amount of volume of new altcoins. You have to be more selective on which assets are going to perform this cycle. I believe this big flush out has been a great thing for the space, because we had all the craziness with the meme coin sagas. We had presidents launching meme coins. Pump.fun was out of control. There was so much liquidity getting sucked up and pushed to the side and not going into fundamental assets. I believe with the push of the strategic crypto reserve, there's going to start to be a shift towards more fundamental projects. Not to say that meme coins and different things like that won't have their value. I do believe they will, but I think they're going to become more selective. Not everything is going to perform like we've seen in previous cycles. And you can see here the sector performance over the last month, really everything is underperformed. And you can see, down this side, whether it be gaming, meme coins, AI, everything's sort of underperformed. The only thing that's kind of performed okay has been real world assets and smart contracts. I continue to believe that the growth and where I would be allocating my money at the moment is in those next gen layer 1 blockchains, Ethereum and their Ethereum competitors. I think, areas around gaming and AI and DeFi will have their time in the sun again. I have been allocating pretty heavily to those, but ultimately continuing to make sure I have a good chunk of Bitcoin in my portfolio. You can see here Bitcoin's pretty much performed, down 10% over the last month, but pretty much outperformed like 80% of the different sectors. Yes, you're not going to get those 5x growth in Bitcoin, but having a good chunk of Bitcoin, in my opinion, 40-50% of that is really, really helpful to ensure that your portfolio doesn't go too much to the downside when we get those big corrections. We're still looking at the ETH BTC chart. This has been in pretty much a 3-year downtrend. Hopefully this will start to turn at some point. I do believe, again, those big macro factors like quantitative tightening and rates are going to be required to see altcoins really pump. That's why I like to have a smaller allocation in altcoins, but I do think they're going to have their time in the sun. And overall, again, continuing to DCA into BTC and having those next gen layer 1s is really important. I do believe altcoins will start to come back. We saw this chart that I posted last week around, heading back into Bitcoin season. Again, there's some really easy indicators you can be looking at this to see where we are in the cycle. And you can see how cyclical altcoin season Bitcoin runs, right? We're heading right into Bitcoin season, which anything under this sort of 25 range, you can see is usually a good time to buy altcoins, right? So I'm looking at adding to my altcoin positions, not going wider than I currently have, but just continuing to DCA and buy into my favorite alts. Again, next gen layer 1, some AI, a little bit of gaming, a little bit of DeFi is where the sectors that I believe are going to continue to run. I do still hold Pepe pretty strong, but again, not going to go too wide on the meme coins because I do think there's going to be a shift towards fundamental assets over the next few months. So the big date now is middle of this year with July, with the strategic crypto reserve now and David Sachs' announcement. And then also they got the crypto summit at the White House. Again, probably some more announcements of the announcements. I don't think we're going to go on a crazy run right now. The markets obviously had a pretty good pump with the announcement from Trump, but I really want to see some follow through. I really want to see something go through and less announcements and more actual fundamental strong growth. Let's see some actual buys. Let's see some things getting pushed through the government, whether it be executive order or through Congress. I'm keen to see how that plays out. But that's how I'm playing it. It's an exciting time. Again, make sure to remain patient. Don't get too crazy when we had those corrections. Don't get sucked into the fear. When the fear comes, actually add to your portfolio. Do the thing do the thing that feels the worst, because sometimes that's the best trades. When I've made those trades, when they feel the worst, that's usually the best time. And usually you look back and go, that was the right decision. Hopefully you enjoyed that video. If you like more of these, please leave me a subscribe or a like on these videos. Leave me a comment on anything you want me to create content on in the future. And I'll see you on the next video. Thanks, guys.